Friends and relatives in four directions. This is Robert Pilot of Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake. I'm here to ask you for your support. Finding honest Native-centered news is not easy, but with your support, we're able to provide accurate information about Standing Rock, Line 3, treaty violations, and COVID-19 in our Native communities. Please visit Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon and donate if you can. That's Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon. Pinigigi, and thank you for your support.
Culture prevents so many negative things from happening to us as individuals and as communities.
Strong roots begin with a healthy heart. For Indigenous women, heart health is part of caring for community, culture, and future generations. Even small steps can help protect what matters most. Discover ways to support your heart at hennepincounty.gov/hearts-beats, because your heart beats for generations. Support comes from the Walker Arts Center. Warmer weather, sunny skies, summer is here. At the Walker, this means mini golf is open on the rooftop. Artist-led activations return to the hillside, and the cinema has a series of curated films. It's the perfect time to visit. Gallery admissions are free every Thursday night and free every day for members and citizens of tribal nations. Learn more at walkerart.org/summer.
Time is running out to experience Unchi Said So at All My Relations Arts in Minneapolis. This powerful exhibition by Daniel Seawalker shares Native stories rooted in collective identity, generational knowledge, and teachings passed down through community. Through bold portraits and vibrant color, the work honors the significance of grandmothers in Native culture and reminds us that sovereignty begins at home. Closing June 6th, don't miss your chance to experience this powerful exhibition. Plan your visit today at allmyrelationsarts.org.
The city of Minneapolis is now on Native Roots Radio with Minneapolis AIR. AIR stands for American Indian Relations. Guest host Christine McDonald talks to people about important things affecting the city's Native communities. Minneapolis AIR dives into topics like public safety, public health, elections, and so much more. Tune in to Minneapolis AIR on Native Roots Radio from 5 to 6 p.m. on the second Wednesday of every month, right here on AM 950.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. Overnight, a chance of showers and thunderstorms with a low of 65. Then Thursday, a chance of showers and storms in the afternoon with a high of 83. Maverick's Real Roast Beef has the best roast beef sandwiches in the Twin Cities, but don't miss out on the chicken, fish, brisket, Philly steak, and more. Maverick's is located in Roseville on Lexington Avenue, 1 mile south of Highway 36. Visit mavericksbeef.com.
Portions of Native Roots Radio may be pre-recorded.
It's a good day to be indigenous.
Get up, stand up.
They are going to become more brutal.
Couldn't cut. Hit me cut again.
Because all the hippies were trying to be Indians anyway.
They're going to become more repressive because it's a matter of dollars and their illusionary concepts of power.
Hey, Victor.
We must live in balance with the earth.
And also with recent happenings at Wounded Knee.
I am awake.
Welcome to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Wakanja Hade. Hey, Kadagi to all my friends and relatives in four directions. You are listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Robert Pilot. Hey, we discuss local, national, Native news and events, and as you know, Native issues are human issues, and human issues are Native issues. Hey, we're going to have our friend Arvina Martin on all hour, and she is a Ho-Chunk Nation citizen, community advocate, and former elected official in Madison, Wisconsin. She made history as the first Native person elected to the Madison Common Council. And Arvina, it's always great to see you. There's so much going on, and I'm glad you could be with us tonight.
Yes, likewise. I'm coming to you from a lovely day here in Madison, sunny and in the 80s. No severe weather to be seen, thank goodness.
Right, exactly, and that's hasn't been the norm lately.
No. Yeah, I mean, in the past month, 3 tornado warnings, including 2 in 1 week. So,
crazy.
Yeah.
Well, we got a lot to talk about, not only the national primaries, but just recently, just moments ago, House Republicans broke away from Trump to pass the War Powers Resolution, and We'll talk a little bit about maybe New Mexico, or Epstein investigations in New Mexico are being escalating, and Trump is tearing down CBS and CNN. And so there's a lot to talk about, plus all the elections that have happened nationally. And it's great to see our friend Deb Holland, who I believe, an Emerge graduate, and a organization that you worked with for quite a few years and was a part of. And so that was really cool to see.
Yeah, absolutely. I hope you can still hear me. I froze there for a second. But yes, Deb Holland won her primary yesterday, and with Peggy Flanagan securing the DFL endorsement last weekend, it has been a pretty great few days for Native women running for office. And, I just quick looked to see if there was any really great Mary Peltola news as well, just to see, because we had two. It would be nice to be able to share some great news from her campaign as well, but her primary is not till August. And what I looked at, there are an insane number of candidates that are running for Senate, including, I believe, 14 Republicans. So, I mean, she doesn't have to worry about that in terms of the primary. But it's a crazy time. Midterms always are. I think that sometimes they get overlooked when it comes to in comparison with presidential years. So this is shaping up to be probably one of the most consequential midterm elections in recent years. So, it is important. We are just gearing up now. We have all summer for campaigns to be happening. I don't know about you guys in Minnesota, but I just started seeing television commercials for the Republican candidate for governor, Tom Tiffany, who, we are not fans of. A lot of us here in Wisconsin, particularly Indian country here, because he has taken a lot of stances that run contrary to the concept of tribal sovereignty. And so, we as Native people are really going to need to get out to the polls this fall to make sure that he doesn't become governor, because he's already shown that he's going to be hostile to tribes, and we don't need that in our lives right now. So
Yeah.
yeah.
No, one of the things too that you kind of hit with me, and as you know, I was a delegate this last weekend, and Angie Craig, who did not even show up, and now is not was not seeking the nomination from the Democratic labor farmer here in Minnesota. There's all this outstate money supporting her, and it's really our relative Peggy is ahead in the polls, but way behind in the money. Oh, I got a little baby here.
Oh dear.
Come here.
Yay. Let's see.
Come here. Come here and say hi.
Yay.
This is my grandbaby. Look at, say hi. Look at.
Hi.
I think she escaped from her crib and she just busted open the door. Here, Nona, take the little baby. But yeah, so I really don't
media education early. Sorry.
No problem. But I just feel like that outside money and a lot of PAC money coming in, and Peggy's only taking, small donations from people and really doing the Bernie Sanders kind of thing. And I really dig that. So, yeah, there's a lot of mixed stuff going on here in Minnesota, along with Amy Klobuchar not getting, had to go through a runoff the first round, and she was not happy. She wanted to be anointed governor right then and there. And so there's a lot of pushback and weirdness going on, because our progressive people are really taking hold and speaking up more than they ever have been, including me. I'm progressive.
Yeah, this may be a controversial like inter-party, or rather intra-part, right? Intra is within. Yeah. Party take. But, you know, I feel like for so many years and so many election cycles, we have had people making sure, and rightfully so, telling folks, you know, we need to vote blue no matter who the nominee is, whether they are centrist or progressive, having and in most cases having far more of these centrist Democrats being nominated to and serving as the party candidates for certain elected offices. And, you know, there were and have historically been a lot of progressive voters who like are very apprehensive and don't want to cast their ballots for a centrist Democrat. And we've had you know, we've had so many progressive voters here, you know, we need to back the Democratic candidate no matter what. And sometimes that means holding your nose. And now that we are seeing the flip side of that, you know, I'm sad that I'm not seeing the same kind of blue no matter who. You know, if this person is too progressive for you, you know, we still need to vote for that candidate because the stakes are too high. We need to think of ourselves as Democrats and people that vote for Democrats. We need to think of ourselves as a coalition. And while we might not have all of the same, you know, end goals or a lot of the same you know, approaches to how things get done, we all share the same goal of making sure that we, you know, remove MAGA candidates from their offices, because it's hurting all of us, and we need to stick to that coalition. And so we just need to keep voting for the Democratic candidates, and so we aren't stuck in this hell any longer.
Yeah, exactly. We're going to take a quick break, but I'm okay with voting for Amy Klobuchar, but we sent her a message, and it's the House and the Senate in the state that do the laws. She just signs them, and so we got to remember that. So I will be voting for her, but yeah, with my nose plugged, because we talk about it here as she was the first one that wanted to kill a wolf in the National Wolf Hunt and things like that really go against our native ways and our Native Roots Radio ways. But hey, we're going to take a quick break. We got a lot to talk about. We're here with Arvina Martin, our political consultant out of Madison, Wisconsin. Oh,
move up in a new career. Metro Transit is hiring bus drivers with paid training, great benefits, and starting pay at $29 plus per hour. No CDL? Metro Transit will help you get one. This is your chance to build a stable career while making a real impact in your community, connecting people where they need to go every day. Move up with Metro Transit. Learn more by visiting metrotransit.org. Again, that's metrotransit.org.
Maintaining our health, particularly our heart health, is very important to us as a family.
Your heart gives you time with family, time with community, time to pass down what matters. Protecting your heart helps keep those moments alive. A visit with a healthcare provider can be one step toward a healthier future. Learn more at hennepincounty.gov/hearts-beats. Your heart health is essential because your heart beats for generations.
Time is running out to experience Uchi Said So at All My Relations Arts in Minneapolis. This powerful exhibition by Daniel Seawalker shares Native stories rooted in collective identity, generational knowledge, and teachings passed down through community. Through bold portraits and vibrant color, the work honors the significance of grandmothers in Native culture and reminds us that sovereignty begins at home. Closing June 6th, don't miss your chance to experience this powerful exhibition. Plan your visit today at allmyrelationsarts.org.
Support comes from the Walker Arts Center. Warmer weather, sunny skies, summer is here. At the Walker, this means mini golf is open on the rooftop. Artist-led activations return to the hillside, and the cinema has a series of curated films. It's the perfect time to visit. Gallery admissions are free every Thursday night and free every day for members and citizens of tribal nations. Learn more at walkerart.org/summer.
I'm Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan, and I want to be your next United States Senator, and you are listening to Native Roots Radio.
Welcome back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot. Hey, welcome back, everyone. This is Robert Pilot, and we are with our friend Arvina Martin, our political consultant out of Madison, who knows all the ins and outs nationally and locally on politics. Yeah, I just wanted to finish my thought before the break, and it is a time that we have to really vote out the red people, the GOP, and really, I just wanted to mention that we have to be earnest and let our politicians know how we feel, and maybe we can push them more progressive, but we know we can't push the Republicans progressive because they stand for nothing.
I mean, they stand for the orange one, and that's basically it, and are just thirsting for that endorsement, because in their primaries, it's still, his endorsed candidates do, win a lot of the times. And so that's what they're going for. And, it makes it harder for them to get past the primary because, they want to be as far to the right as they possibly can during the primary in order to win. But the electorate in a general election is so much different, and they need to be, they need to figure out, or in order for them to win, they cannot just rely on their base, and this is going to be one of those years where, MAGA candidates have already been showing that they are not shifting, after their primaries, and they keep going because, again, they're campaigning for an audience of one, and it doesn't endear them to the voters. There are so many Americans right now, so many voters, so many non-voters as well, that are experiencing so much pain, like wallet pain, with all of the prices going up for things that we need, like gas and for food, and health insurance and medication. And, we have so many people that have dropped their healthcare coverage after those subsidies were no longer existed. So there are a lot of people now that are going without healthcare, which it seems like a good idea until you get sick. Until you break your leg, until your appendix ruptures, and it's then that medical event becomes, more than just it has more than just an impact on your everyday life. You have to recover. Maybe you have to take time off of work to recover, etc. But maybe, now you have to pay exorbitant bills, and not that the bills, even with healthcare, are all that low, but they're even more audacious, if you don't have coverage. And one hospitalization, one expensive medication that your provider doesn't cover, or that had been covered and now you don't have it. I have a friend who is Native who last month was laid off, along with a lot of folks at his he works at an academic, at a university. So, there were a lot of layoffs that happened. Unfortunately, he was among them. And without his insurance coverage, he could not afford his medication for his diabetes. And that, that's not something that you can skimp on. And so, that this is where we we end up filling the gap by trying to raise money through mutual aid, through GoFundMe's, and we are trying to help out our friends, our families, and our neighbors to be able to scrape by well enough until they can find a new job, until their health insurance kicks in, and other things that are similar, until gas prices go down. You know, I feel so badly, especially for folks that have these jobs that require really long commutes. You know, that
or our farmers,
you know, and then we have Vice President JD Vance, who runs a company that, or is, you know, a major investor in a company that buys out farmland from people who can't afford it anymore, that have to sell and sell for, you know, extremely artificially low prices. And he's just yoinking up that land. And these, you know, a lot of these farmers voted for that ticket, and unfortunately seem to have kind of contributed to their own demise. And it's awful. And you know, I can't imagine coming to that realization that, you know, that you were harmed specifically by the person who you voted for to help you. And they do the opposite. I mean, that's a really, really tough lesson to learn. And, you know, it's also interesting because, you know, Tom Tiffany is running, you know, as with protecting farmers and protecting farms as part of his platform. And, you know, I haven't gotten to take a look at any of the votes that he's taken that are making things that much harder for farmers in Wisconsin. But you know, you see it's been fairly consistent in the last year, being in the news about Wisconsin farms going under and being sold to giant corporations and foreign corporations. And you know, what are we going to do when our food supply is completely, you know, run by interests that don't have our interests at heart?
Right.
It's scary.
And that's what we talk about with the data centers. We talk about the pipelines, the same thing. And is that they don't have they're not from here. They're foreign companies, most of them. And you know, I don't know if I should make a proclamation like this, but I really, really hope when we do have a blue tsunami that we really look at universal health care, because, you know, today we're spending $1 billion on bombs every day, and we could have healthcare and would change. And we've talked about this many times, Arvina, but it would change the economy totally. People would not be married to their jobs, so to speak, and would thrive and enjoy what they're doing for work, and the economy would get better. And then also, I hope that we will prosecute a lot of these people, because I always like to bring up, you know, Nixon didn't go to jail, but his attorney general did back in the day. So, you know, with that, you know, I'm really hoping that the Democrats come out strong.
Yeah, and we absolutely have to, and because people need to hear it. And Democratic candidates are going to have to, especially, you know, those that are going into primaries, are really going to need to be vocal about this. This is not the time to equivocate or be wishy-washy. We need to take a stand, and we need to say these are the basic needs that we all need. And there are far too many of us that are doing without. And, you know, even for people that don't have that empathy for other people, to be able to say, I don't want my fellow, you know, I don't want my friends or family or neighbors to be going without for very important things that they need. But, you know, hoping that or for those folks, sharing that, you know, it doesn't help the bottom line. And when, you know, when we all do better, we all do better.
Yeah.
Then we don't have to spend as much money on various programs to help support people because they're supported already.
Right.
And it's when you see people that can't even look at that kind of data and that kind of information and be like, oh yeah, we should be supporting this. It's comes across as just straight up cruel,
Mhm.
and I think that we need to listen to people when they tell us who they are.
Yeah.
And all of these Republican candidates that are, foaming at the mouth to get this Trump endorsement and campaigning to the audience of one, they're showing themselves, they don't care about us. They care about what the orange one thinks. And that's it.
Exactly. In our next segment, Arvina, hope we can talk a little bit nationally what's happening in California. I know the votes are still coming in, but also just adding up the votes as long as that there's a Democrat on the ballot for governor, they should be okay. But the numbers seem very low across the nation last night for Republican supporters. So hopefully that's a trend that we can talk a little bit about, and also what else is going on, and of course talk about what you do for people outside that you do for a living and as your consultant, and how people can get a hold of you as always. Hey, this is Native Roots Radio, and we are with our friend Ho Chunk, Arvina Martin. We'll be right back.
Heart health is more than just the physical well-being. It represents like a foundation of vitality, resilience, and the ability to live fully.
Your heart carries stories of resilience, love, and survival. Caring for your heart means honoring yourself and the generations before and after you. It means protecting your ability to gather, laugh, and be present. Learn more about your heart health at hennepincounty.gov/heart-beats, because your story matters and your heart beats for generations.
Move up in a new career. Metro Transit is hiring bus drivers with paid training, great benefits, and starting pay at $29 plus per hour. No CDL? Metro Transit will help you get one. This is your chance to build a stable career while making a real impact in your community, connecting people where they need to go every day. Move up with Metro Transit. Learn more by visiting metrotransit.org. Again, that's metrotransit.org.
The city of Minneapolis is now on Native Roots Radio with Minneapolis AIR. AIR stands for American Indian Relations. Guest host Christine McDonald talks to people about important things affecting the city's Native communities. Minneapolis AIR dives into topics like public safety, public health, elections, and so much more. Tune in to Minneapolis AIR on Native Roots Radio from 5 to 6 p.m. on the second Wednesday of every month, right here on AM 950.
This is Chase Iron Eyes announcing a new show on AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota, powered by Native Roots Radio. The show is called Native American Patriot Talk Radio. What will we do on the show? We are going to explore and dive into the source of American constitutional sovereignty, the intersection of Native American and legal issues. Find us the first and third Tuesday of every month at 6 p.m. on AM 950.
Time is running out to experience Uchi Said So at All My Relations Arts in Minneapolis. This powerful exhibition by Daniel Seawalker shares Native stories rooted in collective identity, generational knowledge, and teachings passed down through community. Through bold portraits and vibrant color, the work honors the significance of grandmothers in Native culture and reminds us that sovereignty begins at home. Closing June 6th, don't miss your chance to experience this powerful exhibition. Plan your visit today at allmyrelationsarts.org.
Support comes from the Walker Arts Center. Warmer weather, sunny skies, summer is here. At the Walker, this means mini golf is open on the rooftop. Artist-led activations return to the hillside, and the cinema has a series of curated films. It's the perfect time to visit. Gallery admissions are free every Thursday night and free every day for members and citizens of tribal nations. Learn more at walkerart.org/summer. Hey, it's Robert Pilot from Native Roots Radio. For a meal that feeds your soul and health, check out Gatherings Cafe. Located in the renovated Minneapolis American Indian Center, Executive Chef Vernon Defoe and team serve up incredible indigenous flavors. Gatherings Cafe has amazing bison tacos featuring lean protein from native wise, corn tortillas, and homemade sides. It's fresh, local food rooted in ancestral knowledge. Stop by for breakfast or lunch. That's Gatherings Cafe, where tradition meets innovation.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. Overnight, a chance of showers and thunderstorms with a low of 65. Then Thursday, a chance of showers and storms in the afternoon with a high of 83. Maverick's Real Roast Beef has the best roast beef sandwiches in the Twin Cities, but don't miss out on the chicken, fish, brisket, Philly steak, and more. Mavericks is located in Roseville on Lexington Avenue, 1 mile south of Highway 36. Visit mavericksbeef.com. ATNF AM 950, St. Louis Park, Minneapolis, St. Paul.
Hi, I'm Jane Fonda, and you're listening to Native Roots Radio.
And we're back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot. Hey, welcome back, everyone. This is Robert Pilot, and we are with our friend Arvina Martin, Ho-Chunk sister, a relative here, and our political consultant out of Madison. And we talk politics and culture. And, you know, I'm going to blindside you here a second, Arvina, and I haven't asked you for a word of the day in a while. And I always, I should write that note down and send it to you. Do you happen to have one on the tip of your tongue?
Well, perhaps you saw that little black flash that just crossed my screen. And because that is because he happened to show up right as you're asking, I will put up, this guy's name. This is my cat, and this is Hoonchi. So Hoonch, which means bear. So my little kitty buddy whose tail is flicking around. You know, that was the inspiration for something that I could come up with quick.
Well, that's great, and that's our cultural moment of the day. I appreciate a little Ho-Chunk language, and I'll get some applause there.
Yay.
Because I can do that. And then also, too, I'd really like you to touch on what you do for the community, and then we'll get back into what we're talking about here the rest of the show. But talk about the services that Arvina Martin is able to give our relatives out there and also our allies out there. And you have the floor.
Yeah, so I, as some folks know, I do a lot of trainings that I can offer your organization. Anything regarding running for office, so anything about any part of a campaign, a political campaign, but also, you know, why we need Native people to run for school boards. And for folks that want to work with tribes, I have a Tribes 101 presentation that I can give to give background as to what tribal sovereignty is, how to work and really make the most out of the government to government relationship in a good way, as well as how to organize and how to, get or work with Native communities, both on reservations, but also in urban communities or campus. You know, I'm also available to help facilitate meetings, and other things that I'm happy to work on. And I love to expand my skill set. So if you have an idea and would like to work with a consultant, whether you are in politics or not, please find me on LinkedIn, Arvina Martin. I'm the only one, and send me a message, and we can have a chat and see how we can work together.
Perfect. Yes, and I've seen you in action, and I know you really know what you're doing. I didn't get asked to MC the Wisconsin primary, but that was fun a couple years ago that I did that, and I got to see you in action and got to meet a lot of the movers and shakers in Wisconsin politics, and that was really, really fun.
Yeah, and also of note was that was the year that the party gave Ada Deer a lifetime recognition, and that was ended up being the last convention that she went to before she passed away. So I'm really glad that we had some solid Native representation there at the Oneida Casino where we had our convention that year, and that we were able to honor Ada while she was still with us.
And I was really blessed to one that I got to meet her in person there and talk to her a little bit. And then also, I got to see her really give you a thumbs up during your presentation. That was really cool too.
Yep, I was doing after I created the first Tribes 101 presentation, I was going to give it the very first time at that state convention to help talk to party leaders and activists and everyone about how to engage with Native people, but also understanding about tribal governments and again about tribal sovereignty. And I was not expecting her to show up to my presentation, but she did. And all of a sudden I got really nervous because for those of us that know Ada, if I had said something wrong or misrepresented something inadvertently, she would have immediately raised her hand and corrected me right there. And so I was very nervous because I didn't expect her to be there, and I wanted her to see me do something well. And after she came up to me and told me a good job, and it's one of the highest compliments I've gotten in my political career. She is not someone who would offer compliments unless she truly believed in them. She's not, oh, good job. That was not Ada. You always knew where you stood with her and what she thought of how you operated or the work that you've done. So I was beyond relieved and then even more honored that she approved of my presentation and how I did. So I was able to breathe a sigh of relief that day.
Do you mind telling some of our audience here who she was and what she did? It's just an amazing story, an amazing career. If you could just give a quick bio of her. I know, she fought for her tribe to be recognized and won that. And there's just other things that she's been around a political person that really represented the Native community in a good way.
Yeah. So Ada was by trade a social worker and was taught and a part of the social work faculty at UW-Madison. She ran for Congress in Madison in the early 90s and did not win that time, but she had I still have a pin that says "Run Like a Deer" with a deer on it. And she has been very politically engaged for the majority of her adult life. When the Menominee Nation status as a federally recognized tribe was terminated, she was one of the leaders that helped restore their recognition about 2 decades later. And that it was a very, very bad experiment that ended up having a lot of really terrible impacts on the folks in Menominee County / again the restored Menominee Reservation. And she was able to get it done. And later she was appointed by President Clinton to serve as the head of the BIA. And I believe that she was responsible for recognizing more tribes and signing the recognitions for and passing them all for than any other BIA undersecretary or whatever. I'm not I'm spacing on the exact title, but she was able to recognize, actually, I think it was a couple hundred Alaskan corporations, Native corporations.
Wow.
And so she has had a massive impact on Indian country, all across, all of it. We all owe her, a debt of gratitude for the work that she put in, for her tireless advocacy. I've always said that I could not do what I do without the work that she did. So all of us, whether we know it or not, stand on her shoulders. And we are lucky to have had her.
Well, one of my famous pictures I like to show off is meeting Obama and for 13 seconds and having a picture with him. But that was the first time I met her. She was at that rally for, I believe, the former lieutenant governor in Milwaukee, and Obama came in to campaign for him. I can't remember what he was running for, but
Probably Senate,
again,
U.S. Senate.
thank you, because
Yeah.
I'm oblivious to Wisconsin stuff, even though, you know what I mean. So
Yeah.
thank you for that.
It can be hard
Yeah.
enough to keep track of all the elections in your own state, let alone others.
Right. Yeah. And so what's happening governor-wise in Wisconsin right now? Do we have any kind of front runner? Who do you like in the race, or are you withholding that until things clear up a little better? I know we're going to miss Evers in a lot of different ways, and especially Indian country.
Yeah, so we have actually yesterday was a big day in Wisconsin for our elections, in that we had our signature deadline. So all on June 1st, all candidates that wanted to have their names put on the ballot had to submit a minimum number of signatures that they've had to collect from across whatever district they're seeking to represent, and all of these different offices have different numbers of signatures that are required. So when I ran for city council, I only needed to get 10 signatures, but if you're running for governor or for another statewide office here, you need to get 2,000. So now we have ballots set, and we have candidates that have been granted ballot access, others who are trying to remedy signatures that were deemed not valid. And for folks that have to do that, if they've gotten a signature and it was ruled ineligible and therefore didn't count towards your total, that can be for reasons like not signing or just writing your name or not putting the right address. We had a Democratic candidate who I believe only submitted around 2,200. That was what I saw. If that is not correct, I apologize. But he's got to remedy about 500 ballots because he had the wrong election date on his nomination papers. So this is like, you've got to be super detail oriented. You've got to make sure that these signatures are all tip top according to the rules.
Yeah, I remember that for our Ho-Chunk election.
Yep.
Yeah, there were some names that were thrown out there, but that's a whole nother story. But hey, here with our friend Arvina Martin and our political consultant here on Turtle Island in Wisconsin and Minnesota and all over the nation. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back. This is Native Roots Radio.
Culture prevents so many negative things from happening to us as individuals and as communities.
Strong roots begin with a healthy heart. For Indigenous women, heart health is part of caring for community, culture, and future generations. Even small steps can help protect what matters most. Discover ways to support your heart at hennepincounty.gov/hearts-beats, because your heart beats for generations.
Unwanted sexting or photos, inappropriate jokes, even tickling or wrestling can feel like a violation. Catcalling, cornering, or groping, getting them drunk or high for sex, recording sexual acts without permission, hurting someone because of their sexual orientation, raping a family member, a child, a date, a friend, a stranger, purchasing a human being for sex. You make the choice every single time. Sexual violence is many things. Make a choice. Do not do it.
Sponsored by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
Support comes from the Walker Arts Center. Warmer weather, sunny skies, summer is here. At the Walker, this means mini golf is open on the rooftop. Artist-led activations return to the hillside, and the cinema has a series of curated films. It's the perfect time to visit. Gallery admissions are free every Thursday night and free every day for members and citizens of tribal nations. Learn more at walkerart.org/summer.
Move up in a new career. Metro Transit is hiring bus drivers with paid training, great benefits, and starting pay at $29 plus per hour. No CDL? Metro Transit will help you get one. This is your chance to build a stable career while making a real impact in your community, connecting people where they need to go every day. Move up with Metro Transit. Learn more by visiting metrotransit.org. Again, that's metrotransit.org.
Hi, it's Dr. Evan Adams, and you're listening to Native Roots Radio. Hey, Victor, you better be listening.
In this portion of the show, we'd like to bring awareness to our wolf and bear populations throughout Turtle Island. Say no to the hunts.
Hey, welcome back, everyone. This is Native Roots Radio, and I'm your host, Robert Pilot, and we are with our friend Arvina Martin. Arvina, it's crazy. The show is almost over. It's crazy. Our conversations just fly.
Yeah, they do.
Well, this is Wendy always used to say this when she was on the show every night, and it's funny too. I'm running around all over Minnesota with being a delegate and people running up to me and knowing about the show and always saying, I really like Wendy's segment. So it's like, oh, and we like yours too. And it's just like, I always let her know about that people are really interested in our sacred animals and our relatives, and with hooves and tails and fins and all that. But she always says to me when she was on every day, is like, let that person, whomever it is on the show, talk about what they want to talk about. And so I kind of feel like I will do that right now. And what do you think is really burning in Wisconsin or nationally that you want to talk about at the end of the show?
I mean, just everything. I guess I just want to, I always want to put in a plug for our self-care, and so consider this just another reminder that things are crazy. We're living in all of these extraordinary and, again, unprecedented times, and that can take a toll on us. And we're all operating on our regular everyday lives with more burdens and more concerns, again, with prices being out of control. And we're all just trying to get by. And we forget sometimes that we are carrying this extra burden and this extra load. And so we, need to be paying attention to how we feel, both mentally, emotionally, but physically as well, because this kind of stress can have such awful consequences on all of us. And we need to be our best selves. So, not just so we can support others, but, like how they always tell you about putting your mask on in the plane before you help somebody else with theirs. We need to take that example and apply it in this situation, because if you are dealing with incredible levels of burnout, or just stress to the point where you can't handle everyday life, it's okay to take a step back And it's okay to recognize that, to say no to folks that have requests of you. You know, if you need to say no to, making a dish for your kids' team potluck, it's okay to say no. It's okay to take time for yourself, and you absolutely have to be able to figure out rather what fills your cup and rather than takes from it, because we have so many demands on our time and on all parts of us, that we need to be able to replace that. Otherwise, we're not going to be able to function, and we won't be able to be there for the people that we care about. And sometimes it's easier to recognize that you've gotten to a place where you cannot be of help to anybody else. And that's the wake up call. There's so many people that just want to give because they recognize the pain that so many people that they care about are experiencing. And it's easy to get caught up and try to do what you can to help them so they're not struggling. But you can't do it if you're struggling yourself. So, and if you find joy in that, some of us also, like, that kind of service does fill our cups, but it gets to a point where you don't have enough time. And so you have to exercise a little bit of selfishness and, track how you feel, maybe every night before you go to bed, you write down, like, today was a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or draw a little face or put an emoji in your notes app for how you feel that best describes how you feel today. And track it and see what kinds of patterns emerge and what kinds of things do make you feel better. I mean, we are going into that summer season. That means we can be outside, we can go be in nature and touch grass, as the youth like to say, but we can go be outside in that nature and not just be trapped in our homes. Us here in the upper Midwest, where we're basically locked up all winter, this is the time for us to get out and experience that, and go swim in the lake and go walk in the woods or in a field, and really just figure out what centers you, and make time for that. And even if it's only a few minutes a day, it's better than no minutes a day. So exactly. And look out for your friends and neighbors, and try to keep an eye on them and make sure that they're not overextending themselves either. We need to look out for each other. We need to look out for ourselves. And otherwise, this is going to be so much harder. And in these extraordinary times, just remember that we need to be gentle with each other, and otherwise, we're not going to make it out of this. Okay.
What I really liked what you were saying, and I talked to some Native organizations that really had a hard time with this, but really are thriving now because they are having their employees put themselves first. And like you said about the mask, or put your own mask on first, and that's a really indigenous way, but it's really hard for us because we haven't been brought up that way, and
Yep.
so they're thriving now because people are taking care of themselves, and the job's third, but yet with that kind of thinking, the people are working a lot harder too, and smarter, and it's working out really well.
Yeah, don't feel guilty about clocking out at 5. Don't work till 5:30. If you haven't finished, you can do it tomorrow. Take that time, because the time to restore is so needed. And it doesn't have to be just going outside. Learn your language, practice, be connected with the things that made us that we have had taken from us. Bringing that back into your life is so important, and really fills holes that we don't know that we have until we're in those spaces again and we can see how much they mean to us, and we didn't even realize it. So figure out what it is, practice your traditions, learn your language. I've got language class tomorrow, so I'm going to make sure I'll be there. And just it's all self-care.
Yeah. Wow. Right on. And, I wasn't really thinking about that. And I'm so glad that you brought that up for this segment and spit that out because, yeah, you got to remember, to take care of yourself. And so that's what we try to do here in Native Roots Radio. And Arvina, I really, really appreciate you coming on. And wow, we did a whole show together. That flew. Yeah. Wow. Great. Peeny Gigi, thank you so much. And I want to just tell our friends out there, if you're listening to the show, you are part of the resistance from Chief Plenty Coops, the ground on which we stand on. It's sacred ground. It's the blood of our ancestors. We need to resist, divest, join a group, run for office. We're still here. We are the 7th generation. We'll see you all tomorrow. Ho-wah.